recording. Okay, so what I did here is I built a series of surfaces using surface sweep, and then also using, hold on one second, let me get to the right file here. Tab. There we go. So, series of surfaces using surface sweep, and then surface loft, and then one with the boundary surface. So, let's just start. We'll dive in through this fairly quickly, because I think this will be, everybody will know this, but there may be one or two little things that you're not familiar with yet. Okay. So let's see why that's not showing up. Bear with me now. Why do you not want to show? Oh, there we go, because it's way too high. Okay, so here is a surface sweep. And what I did was I used two sketches. So first sketch, and you know what? Let me just do it this way because I think that'll help too. So I'll delete this. What I did was I used two sketches. So we all know the profile and then the path. So from a side view, you can kind of see I did a simple arc. Now for the curve that I'm going to sweep along, I did a top view. And I put in a plane so that it's connected right at the end. So one of the things I want you guys to notice is as I sweep this, you can see that what's happening or going to happen is that this curve is perfectly flat. We talked once before about wanting to have the curves on an angle that are kind of perpendicular to the path that you're sweeping along. So I wanted to show what happens. So if I come in and I go on my swept surface, we'll select the profile. Oops, I'm gonna, for the sake of this, I'm gonna have mesh previews on for everything. And then I'm gonna select my path. Now, what you can see is, what happens is this becomes flat at the bottom. Same as up here. Even though there's an arc, the surface doesn't have an arc at the top. Now that's two reasons. One is because I don't have any information at the back end for it to know where to go to or what to go to. And again, what happens here is this flat line basically just moves along that path. So again, if you have a flat line, all it's going to do along that arc is just keep moving flat versus taking it and rotating it as it goes, such as that. So that's where you end up with having, whoops, that flat. Okay, someone, I'm getting reverb. I'm not sure who has mic on or volume in that, just so you know. If we look at the curvature combs, and let's scale them up a little bit, you can kind of see that here's the curvature for that surface going left and right, but it remains perfectly flat going along this way. Even though, if we come in, we edit that, and we show our curvature comb for there, you can see that it's got somewhat of an arc. So let's exit out of that. Okay, so now if we come down here, let's go to the next one. I'll hide this for now. What I did this time is the exact same thing. Swept surface with a curve and then a profile path. But the difference now is that instead of doing it on the top plane, I did it on the front plane. So now what you can see is if I go to the front plane, you can see I've got the curvature here. If I go to the back, you can see I've got curvature here now. And the reason for that is, like I had said, it knows how to follow that path. Again, in an ideal situation, I would have done that at a slight angle. Now, what this also allows me to do, one, it's going in the proper form, so I'm getting that curvature all the way across. But by doing multiple, it also allows me to edit the front and the back. I still have only the ability to, edit in one direction from here to here. So, going down to a surface loft now. What I did with this, oh, we're getting way too much stuff here. Let me hide my planes. There we go. That makes life a little easier. So what I did here was I used two profile curves, one at the front, one at the back, and then one guide curve in the center. Now, what this does is it gives me complete control over what happens at the front, and I can modify what happens at the back. With this surface where I only had one profile curve, whatever it does at the end, it's whatever the software decides it's going to do. So the front and the back are identical. But now, by doing this, I can actually go in and edit those curves to get some changes. Now let's just go to the side one. So I can edit this, and it's going to update, give me more of a contoured form. But I can also come in, edit the front or the start of it, and get a different shape than at the back. So now, you can see that you're starting to get more control with the surface loft. Now, keeping in mind too that right now I have some commands under here for start constraints and end constraints. Some of you have seen that when we do a loft between a surface edge to a surface edge. Right now, there's no sense in really using these because our curves are defining what they need to do. Now, if we come down and we do another surface loft, now you can see that what we've got is the ability, let me just hide these other ones. What I've done is I've used 4 sketches. So you can see now that I'm basically telling the surface what to do on this side, this side, this side, and this side. It's a more complicated mathematical surface, but it gives you more control if you want to do tweaks and adjustments because now you can edit every corner of it. Still, we've got the start constraints and end constraints. Not really much to do because we want them to start at that surface or that curve and end at that curve. There's not really any tangency or curvature that we can achieve because that only happens when you're coming off of another surface for a surface. So, but like I said, if we come in and we edit this, we can kind of get more of that sweep that you can start seeing. We could add another curve in here and go back and create something in the middle. So if we were to come back and let me just see what plane I want to use here. Now, because I want to have that sketch in this surface loft, I actually have to move it back above it. Whoops. So let's delete this. What just happened? Oh, there they are. Hold on. I did something wrong here. Huh. Oh, I know why. Okay, we're not going to worry about that for now. I don't want to mess around with it. So, but you can adjust that. If I wanted to put another curve in the center, I could do that as well. Now the next is the boundary surface, which I just turned on. And for all intents and purposes, even though there's two surfaces there, you cannot really see the difference between them. I used the exact same curves to create it. And exact same thing. I've got, although this time I've got direction 1 from here to here, direction 2 from here to here. I can adjust everything just the same as I would with the other surface with the 4 curves. Now, one of the biggest differences for this is you'll notice that on here, when I edit it, I get all these little boxes, which are the same, you know, if we go to the lofted surface, where for each one of those profiles, I can now do tangency to face, curvature to face, but I can do that on all 4 sides. So if we look at this, I can't do anything with these other 2 curves. With the 2 sketch profiles, it will give me the option when we get into the modeling part to do curvature or normal to curvature once we can build it off something, but it won't give me all 4 sides. So keep that in mind, because that's going to be key when we start modeling in the other aspects. Questions about what I walked through? I know I stumbled through some of that stuff, but any questions?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
When I'm designing my Tide bottle, I'm trying to determine how smooth is smooth enough.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like, am I obsessing over how smooth it needs to be, or are we just making it so it looks in our keyshot file smooth, opposed to the temperature map or the other evaluation tools? Do you know what I mean?
No, I know 100% what you mean. That's one of those things where I highly recommend when you guys are doing this to fire off files to me. Again, don't wait to submit the file or to show me the file what the day it's due. Fire it off to me, you know, and say, hey, is this smooth enough? How's this looking? What can I tweak? What can I adjust? Because there are things where you can spend days tweaking and adjusting surface models. I'm not looking for perfection. That's next semester. What I'm looking for right now is for you guys to get down to the basics, but I don't want to see kinks. I would love to see that everybody's surfaces are tangent, where they meet up, and ideally that they're curvature continuous and there's no deviations like I showed you in some of the surfacing or the evaluation tools. So fire me off the files and say, hey, can you take a quick look? Am I obsessing or am I not?
Okay, that makes sense. Because I find myself just in that balance of trying to figure it out. So.
Nope. It took me many years to learn that when I zoom in on my model and I was trying to make something perfect, that the only way anybody would ever have seen that flaw was if they had it under a microscope. So you can get too obsessed with it. Any other questions? Okay, let me stop this here.